Welcome back to a really big daily demo.
So today, guys, I'm going to teach you how to turn yourself into a giant by taking two photographs. The first one you're going to be in, and the second one you're not going to be in. So I'm out on my driveway right now, and really all you need is someplace on or very close to the ground where you can prop the camera up. So I'm going to use this plastic chair. It does not have to be anything fancy. And I'm just going to prop this thing up at an angle. Now, you don't want the camera to be laying flat because then all you're going to see is the sky. And you don't want it pointing exactly forward because then all you're going to see is the ground. So you sort of want to angle it up at about 45 degrees so that it's seeing mostly sky, but you also want to capture the houses and something around it. So I'm going to point mine up. It's a little too high right now. I'm going to angle mine down a little bit. I just kind of want some of the rooftops that I'm looking at behind me. So as you can see, I've got mostly sky, which is what I want, and I want to sort of pick my spot that I'm going to be at as my giant. So I think about right here. Now, it's really important that whatever light is hitting my background, my houses or whatever's back here, trees, whatever, that light needs to be hitting me, because this will not work if I'm standing in the shadow and the houses back there are lit in the sunlight, because then in our picture there's going to be no reason for this giant person to be in the shadow. So make sure that if the houses are in the sun, you're also in the sun. Whatever's in the background, if that's in the shade, you know, it just needs to match. It needs to be the same. Once you've got your shot set up, you're going to take two pictures. The first one is going to have you in it, standing in your giant pose, however you want to be, big scary giant or maybe nice giant, I don't know. And then the second one is going to be with you out of the picture like this. If you know how to set the camera up on a timer to where you can push the button and it'll count down before you take the picture, that'll give you a chance to quickly come back and get in the spot that you want to be in. If you don't know how to do that, then you're going to need a friend or somebody at the house to help you with this. Now, here's the most important thing. Whatever position your camera is in when you're taking the first picture with you in it, it has to be in exactly the same position when you take the second picture. Okay, so if I bump the camera, if I take this picture right here, and then I get out of the shot, and then I bump the camera, see, now I've messed up my picture and I've got a different background in this one. So they have to be exactly the same. So wherever you had it for the first one, make sure it does not move before you take the second one. Make sense? All right, so now I've got Sketchbook open. What I'm going to do is I'm going to import those photos. So I'm going to click on the import photo button right here. I'm going to go to all photos. I'm going to pick the first one. You've got to do these one at a time. Now, it's very important that when you get to this screen, do not touch the picture, do not move it around, because if you move it, then this is much more difficult to do. So you're just going to hit the button that says done at the top. Now we're going to go back and do that one more time. Hit the import photo button again, all photos, and now get the other one. So you have one with you in it and the one that you're not in. Okay, so now if you look on the layers panel, you should see picture of yourself and the picture of the one without you. So we've got the background and the foreground. Now, what we're going to do here is actually pretty simple, but it's important that you've got to do it in the right order. You see how the picture of me is underneath. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click on that layer. I'm going to carefully drag and drop to where the picture of me is the layer that's on top. Now I'm going to come in and I'm just going to zoom in to the parts of me that are behind the houses or the buildings or whatever, the trees, whatever's there. Whatever is not supposed to be in front of the houses, you're going to erase that. So the two ways we could do this is you could take the eraser tool and just start erasing. And what's happening is you're seeing the picture on top get erased and the picture underneath is showing through. That's why it looks like I'm vanishing there, but the houses are not. So you see, actually, it's just, see, if I turn this eyeball off, it's just a hole in the picture. But if I have it on, then the one that's underneath it, remember, because it's an exact copy of it, except I'm not in it. The one that's behind it is showing up. So You can do it that way, but it's kind of hard to get all those little details in there. So another way that you can do this that I find a little bit more controllable, a little bit more accurate, is we're going to go to the selection tool menu, which is that one up there. It's the little dotted rectangle with the mouse button on it. And that first tool there is called the lasso tool. That's the one that you want to select, that first one, that's the lasso tool. And I'm going to zoom in really close, and with my finger I'm just going to trace along the top of that house. And I'm going to just kind of circle around the bottom of my leg there. Then I'm going to tap on this layer right here and hit clear, not delete. Don't hit delete, because that'll kill the whole layer. You just want to hit the clear button right here, and that clears out anything that was in there. Okay, so next you're going to come do that on the other side, and you're going to get the lasso tool again. You're going to select again and just sort of follow along where you want that to go and draw around it. Whoops. Let me start that part over. I'm going to hit that X up there. If you mess up, you can hit the little box with the X thing on it. So I'm just going to follow this rooftop here, select around it, tap again on the layer, hit clear, and there it goes. So I've got that chimney right there that's sort of getting in the way. So I'm going to hit the X button. I'm going to undo again. Now, what I'm going to do here is it's hard to see how to cut this off, because I need to be able to see through the layer that's on top in order to make a good cut, and that's hard to do because it's opaque. So I'm going to adjust the transparency, which means I'm going to click on the layer again, and you see this big slider down here, the slide rule that says opacity. I'm just going to slide that towards the middle to where it's 50. So now I can kind of see through it to make a better selection. So I'm going to hit the little X again to clear the selection, grab my lasso, I'm going to follow it down, up. This time, now that I can kind of see through it, I'm going to carefully trace around where the top of that roof is. And now I'm going to circle down underneath. And now I'm going to zoom in a little bit more so you can kind of see it. As you can see a little better, I've clearly followed the top of the roof. So when I delete it, it's going to just leave what I want there to see. So I'm going to tap here again on this layer. I'm going to hit clear, and that looks pretty good. So now I'm going to hit at the top, this little button that says clear selection. You want to do that. Tap again on this layer right here. And you see where the opacity, I had slid it down. Now you're going to slide that back all the way back over to 100. And then you zoom out. And there it is. Now you're a giant. If you want to play around with it, kind of come back in, make those lines a little bit more clean, you can always hit undo. This undo button up here is the best. You can go back in with the eraser tool and go around the little details if you want to. You can make this as easy or as hard as you'd like it to be. But there we go. Have fun being a giant.